Hey, with us now, we've got columnist for the New York Times, Bret Stephens. His recent column is entitled Donald Trump's High Crimes and Misdemeanors. Also with us, we have Martin London. He was a principal lawyer for Vice President Spiro Agnew. Martin wrote a piece in Time magazine entitled, I was a lawyer for Spiro Agnew. President Trump should consider resigning. Martin, let's start with you. Why should Donald Trump consider resigning?
He should consider resigning because it's only going to get worse. We already have everybody, you know, the rats are leaving the ship. He's lost Gates, Papadopoulos, Cohen, Flynn, now Pecker. He'll probably lose Weisselberg and others from the Trump organization. And we don't know a quarter of what's in the pocket of the prosecutor. And if he has any interest at all in not only saving his skin, but the skin of his child, his children, his son-in-law, his grandchildren, his daughter, this is a time when he's got to seriously think about it. Now, is he capable of that, of serious thinking? Frankly, I doubt it. If he's going to be advised by people like Clown Giuliani and people who don't know that the truth is truth. Then he's not going to get anywhere. The national interest is what drove the Agnew resignation.
And so did you push, Alex, I'm just curious, the Joe Scarborough Memorial 7-second delay there? Let's hope so.
I hit it. I always have a disclaimer that I might have messed up, but I hit it.
That's okay. That's okay. I embarrassed myself many years ago, so you don't have to. So let's go right now to Bret Stephens. Bret, you talked about Donald Trump's high crimes and misdemeanors. Yesterday, Noah Rothman from Commentary was on yesterday, and he laid it bare, and I think he's exactly right. When you have the President of the United States talking like a mob boss and saying that the federal government should ban people who actually cooperate with federal prosecutors to undermine more wrongdoing, that should be banned. If that's not open obstruction of justice coming from the chief law enforcement officer in America, I don't know what is.
It's somewhat ironic coming from a president who advocated torture when he entered the office and had to be dissuaded by General Jim Mattis that torturing suspects should be okay in his view, but flipping suspects which has been a tradition of the Justice Department, of legal officers for decades, if not longer, should somehow be illegal. And Noah was exactly right. What we're hearing, what we're watching, doesn't resemble any president of the United States we've seen, except perhaps a handful of exceptions. It comes from whether it's the mafia or organized crime, or to some extent in his demands for loyalty from Jeff Sessions. It reminds me of the dictators he so admires. You know, I think that President Trump wants cabinet secretaries walking around him in the way that Kim Jong-un's note takers do, you know, in those pictures when he's giving field guidance and these guys have their little notebooks open.
Right.
That's what he looks for in an attorney general. He doesn't want loyalty. He wants cravenness, and that's just not how this system works. Yeah.
Well, actually, Donald Trump said that after he came back from North Korea. He wanted people working for him that acted the way Kim Jong-un's minions work for them. I think they have to come to their knees before addressing them. Gene, we had this wonderful moment on the show yesterday where Elizabeth Buehler was being interviewed by Mika. Mika asked about Donald Trump saying that flipping should be illegal, and he really did. Everybody that was watching said, my God, this sounds like it's straight out of Goodfellas. And Elizabeth said, you know, he really sounds like, and then she just froze and said, wait a second, I write for the New York Times, I better just not answer. And then Noah Rothman with Commentary said it immediately after. He sounds like a mob boss. Yeah. And which is, of course, what you lay out when you have somebody talking about, you know, those dirty rats flipping, and we should make flipping illegal. He really did sound like he was out of Goodfellas or one of the Godfathers.
He really does. If not just that interview too. I mean, but which was incredible. I mean, he sounded like a mob boss in a sort of gangster B movie. I mean, there's not this is not dialogue out of The Godfather, but it was shocking actually to hear any public official talking like that, but to hear the President of the United States talking like that, it's like we're in some different and awful dimension of reality. It was awful. And then the other thing, was this sort of naked appeal to Manafort, begging him not to flip, on the part of both President Trump and Rudy Giuliani, who President Trump basically saying, great respect for Manafort and this and that, because they know, he's had these crushing legal bills from the first trial. He's now looking at potentially a retrial, which would be another mountain of legal bills. He's looking at the upcoming trial in D.C. And his attorney said at the end of the trial this week that Manafort's looking at his options. Well, that seems to have really scared the bejesus out of Trump and Giuliani, and he had Giuliani go out and basically make a proffer to Manafort, saying, well, we're advising the president. I've advised the president not to pardon Manafort, at least until after the investigation is over. That's basically bribing Manafort to keep his mouth shut. It's just incredible.
And John Heilman, Manafort's broke. Who's paying all of his legal bills?
Who's paying them?
Yeah, I mean, the guy's broke. He's been broke. Do you know how? The legal bills of a federal trial, a jury trial in federal court, and then he has one coming up in D.C. Then he may have. Who's paying these legal bills? Do we know?
Well, Joe, I do not know the answer to that, but apparently Martin does. He's suggesting to me, passing me a note right here that says he thinks Donald Trump is paying his legal bills. So I ask you, Martin, what do you know about?
I don't know anything. I don't have any facts, but I know that Trump went out and through himself and Giuliani made a very direct plea. Don't speak. We'll pardon you in the end. We'll pardon you in the end. We'll pardon you in the end. Now, and then he says he's not going to do it until after the second trial. And who knows whether or not there's going to be another trial in West Virginia on those other counts. So I don't know how anybody could afford that. We're talking about tens of millions of dollars of legal fees. And you know what? If and when he gets the pardon, he's just, Manafort's just trading camp-fed for Sing Sing on the Hudson, because that pardon does nothing to him, nothing for him in New York State, and New York State has got this guy by the whatevers, because he's got all those tax counts.
Thank you, Martin.
Okay.
No, I'm saying thank you, Martin.
I'm restraining myself.
For saying whatever. That shows a real discipline as we get 5 minutes into this this show. Thanks for checking out MSNBC on YouTube, and make sure you subscribe to stay up to date on the day's biggest stories. And you can click on any of the videos around us to watch more from Morning Joe and MSNBC. Thanks so much for watching.